My name is Fazal Ihtisham, and this podcast will be my digital artifact for the DIGC330 Assessment 3. I will be expanding on my own results of my own individual autoethnographic investigation and research into the production and consumption of an Asian digital media text, platform, product, or service. First off, let's give some definition of what an autoethnography is. According to the 2011 reading Autoethnography An Overview by Ellis et al., an autoethnography is an approach to research and writing that seeks to describe and systematically analyze personal experience in order to understand cultural experience. So it uses the researcher's behaviors, thoughts, and experience when interacting with others in society and uses that data to come up with a conclusion. That is the easier form and version of it. And also, according to the paper I just mentioned, there are many forms of an autoethnography, and my chosen method was narrative ethnography. According to the paper, it basically refers to text presented in the form of stories that incorporate the ethnographer's experience into the ethnographic descriptions and analysis of others. In this form, it emphasizes on the ethnographic study of others, which is accomplished partly by attending to encounters between the narrator and members of the groups being studied. And narrative often intersects with analysis of patterns and processes. For my own autoethnographic experience, I decided to do a study about gamers in person, and in this case, Korean gamers. And in my investigation, I decided to give an account of what kind of reactions or activity they would have in internet cafes in Hong Kong. I chose South Koreans purely due to the fact that their gaming culture has risen exponentially in the past decade. For example, according to a 2007 research paper called Video Games and Computer in Korea, it mentions that more than 17 million people in South Korea play video games. At any moment in time, there are more than 4 million players playing in online multiplayer games. That is a lot of gamers. It also basically means that 35% of the total population of South Korea plays video games actively, which is also much more than any other country. The paper also mentions that internet cafes, also called PC bangs, are really popular in South Korea. It represents important places in social life of young adults. They go there to play games, video chat, and socialize. And it is the popularity is so big that they spend more time only at work or at their homes. So, to start off with my autoethnographic investigation, I went to an internet cafe in Hong Kong called I1. That internet cafe that I went to was situated in Kwun Tong, also known as Kwun Tong. I went there with the intent to find some Koreans who were playing games. At first, I couldn't really find many Koreans or any Koreans, but thankfully I found one group of 5 Koreans playing a game called League of Legends in the internet cafe. I asked them if I could observe them and record them for my autoethnographic investigation. They denied the right for me to record them, but they said that I could observe them. So I decided to take out a piece of paper and write down what I observed. So while they were playing the game, the first thing I noticed was the intense focus they had while playing the game. The reason their intense focus was so noticeable was because of the fact that other people in the internet cafe weren't nearly as focused as them. For most of the duration of the games, their eyes were glued to the screen, and which shed a light on how serious they really took the game. The second thing that I noticed was they only communicated if it benefited the game, such as maybe discussing strategies and such. I do not understand their language, but because of my experience with the games, I could kind of make out what they were referring to. They were discussing strategies and how they could win in the most efficient way. Throughout the game, I noticed that there was rarely any lighthearted moment between them, and their main motive was to win the game as soon as possible. On that note, I also noticed that they were actually really passive aggressive against each other. For example, if one of the players made a mistake, then the others would criticize them and ask them to play better, but in a really mean way. So that just showed how serious they really took gaming. There are data that support the fact that South Koreans are 100% head over heels for gaming. For example, according to Dr. Merzenich, the government of Korea estimates that about 680,000 children between the ages of 10 and 18 are addicted to video games. When I decided to observe South Koreans and their gaming behavior, I knew that the South Koreans would be quite serious because gaming culture has been really popular in their country and they have been a part of esports for a while now. But the amount of seriousness that I originally thought they would have was really underestimating the actual amount they really had. So they were way more serious than I really thought they would be. And the stereotype comes true that South Koreans and their gaming cannot be separated, and that gaming should be considered a part of the culture of South Koreans, more so than any other country, in my opinion. This autoethnographic investigation has resulted in me better understanding a culture of South Koreans and gaming. As for the form of the ethnography, I feel like this form of autoethnography was the best approach as it suited my idea and it just made sense in my head, so I had to use the form of narrative ethnographies for this podcast. This marks the end of my autoethnographic investigation, and the conclusion that I've come up with is South Koreans and their gaming are quite inseparable, and it should not be underestimated. And the pattern that this investigative journey has confirmed that same belief.